All right, welcome to the Gateway Crossing review of the backstory, how we acquired this property at such a low price, a low basis, what it took really to accomplish this with the seller and the buyer, Focus Capital here. As you know, we have an opportunity open to accredited investors only to invest in right now. So I've Chad here on the line as well, Chad Olson. He's our VP of Investments at Focus Capital. And Chad, why don't you give a couple minute overview here on how we actually took down Gateway Crossing and got it for a low price here with the seller?
Yeah, so Gateway Crossing is similar to the other property we just acquired back at the early part of this year in May. Heritage Square comes from the same seller. Heritage Square was a newer property type. This was actually the first one that the seller that we're working with built in multifamily down there, and he's since built 4 other projects. And we were looking at Heritage and Gateway for quite some time, and we talked a lot about that in our last video. But these deals, in one way or another, had been around somewhere in the market for well over a year. And now it's been over a year and a half. But last year in the spring of 24, it was with a different brokerage, and they went to market. They had some pretty lofty pricing expectations that didn't come to fruition. I do believe that they got several offers that were significantly higher than where we're sitting at right now. And decided not to go with that, reposition the properties and try to go out again. At the time, they were nowhere near occupied. Most of them were, around 50, 60, 70%, if I remember correctly. So they, couldn't get qualified for an agency loan, which was the big problem. And when you're buying a newer property like this, that's generally what you're going to go find, unless you're buying it for a really good basis and putting bridge debt on it. So they came out of contract and went away. And then around the fall of last year, we were together with one of the brokers that we have a really strong relationship with. And he let us know, hey, we're taking these deals out to market ourselves. And I said, okay, what's the pricing guides? Well, it's more than it was before. All right, well, we're not going to be in the mix then, but I will take a look. And we took a look at both of them. We offered on both Gateway and Heritage. Gateway had come on earlier than Heritage. I think they brought that out like maybe a month or so before. They weren't offered together by any means. Someone could have taken them down, but that's not how they marketed them. We weren't close on Gateway at the first part, and we ended up losing out on it. And we're really kind of more focused on Heritage at the time. And a different group had taken it down. I think they were under contract, quote unquote, because there's a long story there, in October or something like that of that year. And then we went along. Heritage, we were offering on in second best and final into December. And this one had, moved since past us or whatever. Get into the next year, we get Heritage signed up. We're doing our thing with the seller on that. And we started to hear rumblings that maybe it wasn't going to happen, and the group that was under contract was going to back out or move out because it was just taking too long and not getting anywhere. And by April, March, I think, is when we got the call that it was officially out of contract. And we started leading up to it, but really in that moment saying, hey, listen, we'd be interested in taking this down. It's got to look a lot like what it looks like on Heritage, if not a little bit more favorable, being a few year older product. But that's kind of where we're coming down. It needs to be the same. That's what we can get excited about. And so we just kept those feelers going and kept working with them. And what we were focused on was executing Heritage Square, within the timeline as quickly as possibly could. And achieve everything that we had promised the seller. And we did all that stuff. And I think then some. We had a really good relationship, really clear lines between us and the seller through the whole transaction. The little hiccups that come up at any transaction happened. We worked through those together. And we showed that we were just a really strong and good buyer. And then we closed when we were supposed to with no, fireworks show or anything else like that. Just got it done. And so I think he really appreciated that. And in this kind of environment, we're seeing a lot of that right now. We're seeing a lot of people that are getting into deals, getting them signed up, and then they're backing out of them, and the deals are not transacting. So that is becoming a more and more ever-present important factor in selecting your buyer. Is not necessarily the price. It's, can these people actually execute at that price, or execute at all? And so we had proven that. Got into an offer scenario on Gateway again for the third time. And we stuck to our number that we've been at for quite some time. And they, finally came to it and said, yeah, we're willing to execute, work with you guys because of our experience on the last deal. And we were able to get it under contract at a great cap rate at a great basis.
Thanks, Chad. Yeah, a couple of things really resonate with me there. Really, one is like, okay, why would a seller take such a lower price from us versus a past buyer? And what's that mean for him? And why is the seller wanting to sell these right now? That's a question I've been getting from investors. And really, what it comes down to is like, but price is not always the most important thing to a seller. The assurance to close by the buyer is sometimes far more important than the price they offered at. And because the seller knows for us, for example, that we did close on time early, actually, at the price we agreed upon, with no problems at all, that was more important to him to get it done and to know that there'd be an end date for his sale to go do next projects for himself. And that kind of funnels into, well, why is the seller selling right now? A lot of questions are asked around that framework there, and that's because this company is primarily a merchant builder, meaning their business model is to find land, entitle it, build it, stabilize it, sell it, and repeat. So they use those funds, those proceeds for the next project. And that's what this seller here is doing as well, is they're not in the business to buy and hold for the next 20 years. Their business model is to buy and I'm sorry, to develop and then sell right away. Anything more here to add to that, Chad?
Yeah, and then just piggybacking off that, and they'd held these ones for a little bit longer than they probably wanted to. And it's becoming more and more important to find that because we can throw out numbers and prices all that we want. It doesn't mean anything until the money hits the bank, the escrow, the title company, and the documents are signed and it's transacted, right? That's when it matters. Otherwise, everything else is just kind of smoke and not reality. And so that's why that, the highest purchase price or highest price thrown around doesn't always amount to an actual closed transaction and everything else. And that's what we've seen so far. It's like, he had some of these guys come in there and do that and it didn't happen, didn't work out. So the surety to close became the more important factor. It's still going to be a good number for him. It's still going to be a good exit for him from what we have understood. It's just not what they had maybe originally projected or in their wildest dreams projected. I'm not sure. But it's the market, how long it took, the occupancy, the supply, the rents, all those kind of things, the struggles in operations, property management, all those things that have kind of led to our position of being able to get in at what we believe is the right time and just finding this kind of low point in the market with these assets to come in and acquire them and then bring them up to where they should be for the area and let the market kind of do itself too and work with us.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Chad. That was very, very informative. Hope you all enjoyed this right here. If you have more questions at all from our team about this investment or other opportunities, give us a call or shoot us an email. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.